Hey, welcome back to another conversation here. We have a special guest, Joshua Fisher, Joshua T. Fisher, PhD, to be exact. I did ask if we should refer to him as Dr. Fisher, and he said he prefers Josh. So I like that. You run our speed.
That's
So,
right.
well, Josh, thank you so much for coming on, being willing to share your expertise with our crew. You're the CEO, the president of Inner Learn Education, which you do a ton of online learning modules and teaching
Mhm.
people how to really get across their message
Right.
in the world that we live in today. And you also wrote a really great book called The Quality Management Devotional for Ministry Leaders, which
Right.
is ultimately what brought us here to this conversation today. Because I was like, you wrote a book about quality management. So, tell me more about you. Tell us what we need to know, and fill in the gaps on your story here.
Sure. So I like to talk about early life real quick. I'm an Air Force brat, so I guess maybe that's some of where the quality management perspective comes in, and very, very systematized in the Air Force Center. Um, Education, my undergrad is in pastoral care theology. I have education then from beyond that in master's in education, PhD in education area. And then I moved into higher ed administration. I've been faculty to over 9,000 students, director of distance education, regional dean, and college president for a couple of institutions. And then I currently lead InterLearn, as you noted, and Progressives, the quality management firm.
Yeah, very cool. Well, and that's the thing. I was like, you have such a wealth of knowledge, like just knowing the ministry space so well because you've obviously lived it. You've been in those positions. And even today, just mentoring and working with so
Right.
many ministry leaders in the work that you do. So, one of the major things that we were really talking about in when we first met was about how much, I mean, just the business world and the nonprofit ministry space, it's like they're just so separated. And it's
Right.
like, what can we do to actually bring some of these like business ideas into the ministry space and
Mm,
make it so that our ministries really thrive
yeah.
in the world that we live in. And so one of the things that you are, an expert in is on quality management. So just because so many people don't know what it is, me included, just fill us, in on what is quality management? What should we know about quality management?
Sure. So people hear that term and they've probably heard, similar terms, quality assurance, quality control. Those are all kind of wrapped up into that area. But quality management is really kind of an educational technology. It's a set of systems, of methods, of language that really helps an individual and organization to reach strategic goals. And, whether that's personally, hey, I've got these things I want to accomplish individually, or I want our organization to do this. That quality management set of technologies is what helped get them there in a very effective way.
Yeah. Well, and why do you think that it's so important that ministries understand this?
Well, I can give some examples, but so often in any field, we think we have this sense of quality. Hey, I've really done a great job on it. It's an internal perspective. And when we submit those things that we're doing to quality management methods and to quality management technique, we start to recognize, oh, maybe there's some areas that I can improve and do better. When you delve into areas of quality, you realize that quality has got to be there for the organization, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit. And ministry, it's often they just really think, oh, that when I hear quality, that's more your business people. You guys got to think about that, and they don't think in those terms. But when you put brass tacks down for the topic for a ministry, you can think about, planning and budgeting is part of a church work, a ministry's work. They've got to do that, or guess what? They start to run out of funds because they didn't manage well. When ministries, become so concerned about the money, then they go the other direction. That's the two ends of the spectrum there. If they become so focused on bringing in the funds and collecting the funds, I was involved with a church one time where they became so focused on the funds that the offertory sermon was longer than the regular sermon, and that became very, very apparent to a number of people that
Wow.
maybe this isn't where I need to be because of that perspective. And one that really hits me hard is when I find that a pastor or a leader in a ministry has not prepared well. Think about a sermon not being done well. They put it in kind of poorly. They didn't develop it well, and maybe they didn't cover that specific scripture well, and it led someone down a bad path. Or talk about hiring. They didn't do the due diligence and the background check for people, and they hired a predator.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really tangible, very, very sad and sick situation that could happen to a church without proper quality systems in place.
Yeah. I think that so often people get into ministry, right, because they're passionate about sharing the gospel,
Yeah,
like they
right.
they really care about the mission side. And then they get find out that once they get in there, it's like, oh shoot, I do have to care about
Yeah,
budgets and
yeah.
financial statements and the operations and hiring and firing and all those
Hmm.
details. And so it does have so many business qualities in
Yeah,
it. So what advice would you have to somebody who is leading a ministry and has never, done any of this formal business training stuff?
right.
They just have never gotten the background on this.
Well, and I can speak to that from my own perspective because I didn't have a lot of that. I think the first thing to probably recognize is that your good intentions aren't good enough. So just because you want to do the ministry doesn't mean you can stop there and just say, "Well, I've got good intentions." No, you got to do the work. You got to really make sure you're learning what you need to learn. Because I have that undergrad in pastoral care, I look back to that a lot and go, what did it prepare me to do? My program was to train pastors, but I can point to exactly one class that might have been construed as a business course, church administration, which sounds businessy, but really it was looking at all the areas that a church has to work in, children's church and music ministry. It wasn't really about how to run a business. So, leaders of ministries that were in programs similar to mine didn't have that training. And so, one of the things I want them to do is go engage leaders out in the field that have that experience. Um, help yourself by developing your own learning process, read books, get mentoring. If an MBA is something you are interested in, consider doing that because it will help you. I mean, get a good one. Don't do one that's just focused on the money that really will help you develop your business sense and at the same time can continue to help you care about ministry issues. But engage business leaders in your congregation. Ask them to mentor you. That's a big piece that they could. Not only are they going to say, "Hey, I recognize I have a deficiency," it's going to get that business person talking about what they know and helping them apply it within the church setting.
Yeah. Highlighting that real quick, that last part of it of engaging people in your own ministry who have that business background,
Right.
those people in your ministry who have the MBA already,
Right.
and just the fact that you and I know that so many business leaders who are sitting in our churches today feel like their gifts are not being used for the
Right.
kingdom. I mean, like here they are, wealth of information, have the
Hmm.
ability. They probably see all these holes inside of the church or inside of the ministry already, but they don't feel like they're necessarily in a position to tell you that you're not doing it very
Right.
well. Sometimes we've got our outspoken people, but for the most part, you do have to, really engage them and pull them into the
Hmm.
conversation, invite them to be a part of
Yeah.
that. So I appreciate that a lot because you and I know that when you engage those business leaders, they also come with larger donations.
That is exactly right. Exactly right.
As and so I'm like, ah, that, and of course we all want to be a part of something where we can invest our time and our energy
Right.
and our gifts into. So that is a huge way to get them plugged in. But so for somebody who is, new to quality management, new to this concept of, kind of diving into some of these business practices, can you give us just a high level view of what your 8 quality manager values are? I know you talk
Sure.
extensively about it inside of your book, which I really encourage people to read, but it would be helpful, yeah, to hear what are those 8 values.
Yeah. So, one of the big ones that we talk about first is vocational certainty. And that really having the education, training, emotional maturity, and that continual development for the work that you're doing. Um, if you don't have it, recognize that and continue to develop yourself. There's always areas we need to improve in. But making sure that when you're hiring for that right person. Process quality, making sure that you plan the budget, make sure you have the resources to do what you're supposed to be doing, produce those reliable products, reliable services, et cetera, for your constituency. Another one is administrative consistency, making sure that you're paying attention to the details, doing the paperwork that's required, following your process and procedures, your protocols, and focusing on what your constituents are about and what they're needing. Um, that could be a real big one. If you focus on your constituents, a lot of things come into place because they're telling you what they want and what they need. Even your congregation is telling you that very, very strongly on a regular basis. And if that means by leaving, that should be telling you why they're leaving. So another one, executive credibility. That's a kind of a measure of your skill and your sincerity with people. We hope that pastors have this because if they don't, they're not engaging their congregation well. They're not sincere and have a skill with people. That's going to create a problem. They're not going to be engaged well.
Yeah.
Personal authenticity, just being who you say you are. I mean, that one's a pretty straightforward. If you say one thing and do another, it makes life very difficult to have followers when you're not who you say you are. Ethical dependability is being trustworthy in practical matters and reliable with money and with people and being honest and direct and straightforward with people. A politician is not a good example typically of an ethical dependability type of person or an ethical dependable person. Another one is keeping the promise and a MAP culture. MAP is mutual respect, accountability, and professionalism, and just making sure that when you say you're going to do something, you follow through for your constituents, your clients, whatever, your customers, making sure that they have that. And then inside your organization is that MAP culture, because by keeping the promise, you're able to have mutual respect, not only for your clients, your constituents, but for each other. Those of you that work in the organization, when I say as the leader, we're going to do this, I'm giving you permission to carry out that directive. And vice versa, when things don't go well, we're making sure together we're getting that done and we're accountable to each other. And we're acting as professionals within the organization to keep the promise to the client. And then the really, really big quality management value is the foundation stone for almost everything is a zero defects attitude. And it sounds like we don't accept any types of mistake, but really it boils down to, yeah, we know we're going to make mistakes. We're human. We've got to recognize that, but we also have to say, we're not going to make those acceptable. We're not going to say, oh, that's all right. We're just not going to deal with that. No, anytime there's a mistake, we're going to make it right. We're going to deal with the situation, the fallout of what happened, and make sure that we don't let that happen again, if at all possible.
Yeah.
So having that as a hard attitude is very important to quality management.
So good. Well, and as you talk about these values, I mean, it really is. I mean, they're core values. Like
Right.
these are
Absolutely.
things that every single ministry should care about.
Mhm.
But and like you said, oftentimes they're like, oh well, yeah, we want to be, have executive credibility, or we want to be personally authentic, and like
Right.
those things are clearly characteristics of a good Christian.
Right.
But what I like about what you're saying here is just being intentional, and actually verbalizing it to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
entire team and
Right.
making sure that everybody knows, hey, this is what we believe in here, and this is
Absolutely.
what's gonna be okay. And especially as you said, like the zero defects, attitude. It's like, no, like it is if somebody has a bad experience, we don't just say, oh well,
Yeah.
there's one
Right.
more
Right.
person who walked out the door.
Right. Right.
What happened? Like,
Yeah.
what are we gonna do to remedy this so it never happens again?
Yeah.
And
Well, an easy one
yeah,
for us to understand on that one is like, I'm going to go to my local favorite restaurant and have a burger. how many flies are acceptable in that burger? I mean, that's a zero defect thing. Zero are
That's right.
allowed. So I want to make sure that I have a good, clean burger to eat. But if we say, well, and there are strands of quality that say there is a statistical allowance for that, but I don't find that a very good process, because if you have a statistical allowance, you're saying those are okay. So we're never going to accept a mistake being okay. We're just going to deal with it and move on.
Yeah. So do you recommend that people actually, with these 8, quality management values, do you recommend that they go through each one as a team? Like, what is your recommendation for them to take
Sure.
these qualities and actually start to implement them?
Sure. Well, we certainly, Progressive has a training program. You become a certified quality manager. And then we have application services where we're mentoring you, making sure you're doing that. You've got the information now. How are you implementing? We can certainly help in that way. But as far as just walking through the book, yeah, that would be a great way as a team to really talk through. Hey, okay, this is our topic for this week. Let let's talk about our own areas personally and within the organization to really think through this. What are some areas that I'm maybe not following up on the details well, or I've let some defects, funnel through our process and our delivery of materials or services or whatever it is. And that's a simple way to just get everyone on the same page. Obviously, some organizations are small enough to do this all together in one setting, but it may need be with larger groups that they have to have subgroups, and
Yeah.
each one has, their own group that they're meeting with.
Yeah. And this really, falls in line with strategic planning as well. That
Right.
if you do actually do a strategic plan and you go through the process that many, I have lots of people that run in my circles who do, strategic planning, and I'm like, there's actually a process to do this well. And this, what we're talking about here, should really be a part of that, because
Right.
it allows you to, be accountable to, hey, what guidelines did we set as a team?
Hmm.
And what are our goals? What do we want to see happen with our organization? So
Yeah.
I just want to highlight the fact that it's like, this doesn't have to be like, oh, this is an overwhelming like task that we have to get our whole team together around. It's like, no, just add this
Yeah.
to your strategic plan that you're already working as an
Right.
organization
Right.
or as a ministry. So really,
Yeah.
really great. So,
Yeah.
many people like, I think that especially with that, just the difference between ministry and business, or
Hmm.
nonprofits and ministry, or sorry, nonprofits and for profits, is that, there's just that divide in really understanding each other's language.
Right.
And what would you say to somebody who's, struggling to really connect with business leaders and wanting to make that connection, but just feels like, hey, we're speaking a different language. What
Yeah.
can we do to connect with them?
Sure. So I mentioned asking business leaders to mentor you. Certainly asking them to be a part of your board, or maybe not, if they're not, if it's an elected position, being an advisor to the board, or help on a specific project. Those are some easy ways with less commitment legally for them to be involved. John Maxwell talked a lot about how has interviewed leaders over the years. Take people to lunch and interview them. Ask them specific questions. Hey, I'd like to pick your brain. Can I take you to lunch? And just get an education on those types of things. When you're asking someone for their expertise, it's like you're getting an open door to engage them relationally and in a topic they feel comfortable in. Sure, you might ask them some questions that they don't know, but that's going to help them too, that they're going to have to go do the research or whatever to develop their practice, or maybe really outside of their area of leadership expertise, and that helps you to learn. Oh, well, that doesn't fit inside the management practice that I'm focusing on here, and that helps you correct and go where you need to go to develop further. Um, from a church perspective, as the leader of a church, or really at any type of a ministry that is focused on delivering the gospel message type of a thing, um, help them understand from the pulpit that their role as a minister out in the community is vital. So, as a pastor, they have this professional ministry setting, their professional minister, but they're probably never going to reach the people that you as a business person or someone in schools or someone in, wherever you work. The pastor's not going to be able to go there and preach, but you as a minister are going to see those people regularly and you get to influence them. And so having a pastor say from the pulpit, hey, did you guys know you guys are ministers? I heard a definition of a minister is a person who stands in the place of a great one. Well, we're all standing in the place of a great one, right? We're God's connection to the world. And so a minister should help reinforce them, give them the tools. Hey guys, I wanted to share some good method to engage people, to really care for them. And it doesn't have to be just slamming the faith of salvation pitch. No, it's really showing them that you love them and care for them and you want to see what's best for them, helping them to be in a sphere of influence in their area, will get them to go, hey, I like doing that. And it's going to connect me back to the church. And it becomes more of a two-way relationship instead of pastor to congregation, always pastor to congregation. Then it starts to be going, okay, I hear what you're saying, pastor, teach me more, but also, can you help me customize this message? Can you help me develop it for blah, 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 this setting? And it really becomes very much a relational model of doing ministry. Both of you are getting what you need out of it to help you do better in what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There's so many good things out of that. So, I mean, and I just want to kind of go back to even the beginning part of what you recommended of getting them plugged in, to a committee, to a board, to, some sort of
Sure.
way to get that business leader plugged in. And that falls so in line with what we teach at Fully Funded Academy. It's like, it's all about giving somebody a platform to
Right.
share their message. And, as you were saying that it's like, giving them, from the pulpit, from, like educating them, it is a win-win relationship.
Yeah.
There's things that they can offer, there's things that the minister can offer back to them, and so there's just such a mutual win-win there. And
Right.
you and I are both in the marketplace, right?
Hmm.
Like we
Right.
are those people. we
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
are those people that are sitting, and so I want them to hear too that it's like we're not telling you because we're like, "Oh, hey, this is you should go talk to those business leaders." It's like, "No, we're the guys that are
Right.
sitting in those churches wanting the
Hmm.
pastor to speak to us,
Yeah.
wanting that minister to reach out and say, "Hey, we'd love for you to help us. We see that you have a skill that could help us in what we're doing." So I just want to give you permission from two marketplace
That's
leaders,
right.
that it's like if you don't ask us, we will leave and we will go somewhere else.
Right.
So,
Right.
and that is the downside of, oftentimes as, pastors or ministers, whatever ministry leaders, is that you do feel like you're being an inconvenience to that marketplace leader thinking, well,
Hmm.
they're so busy, they've got a family, they've got, a business. Why would they want to spend that time with us? And I mean, just real quick, I mean, you volunteering your time and giving your time, why would you want to do that? Why would you
Yeah.
want to be asked or want to be engaged in that way?
Well, part of it is I do want to give back. That sounds like a tired expression these days, but there is that charity with my skill set. I may not have infinite amounts of money to give to an organization, but my time, though not free, is more available. And I might want to invest in that, in those times of really giving my expertise and helping out in areas around the church, out in the community for the church, helping the pastor grow. Yeah, I'd love to be able to help that situation. And if I'm not given that opportunity, I'm not going to engage. I'm not, I'm going to step away from that because I don't feel like I'm wanted.
Right. And even like what you said, I mean, your time is valuable, your resources are valuable, so and oftentimes you're not going to necessarily always volunteer
Right.
that, without seeing somebody saying like, "Hey, you really have something that could help us." So
Hmm.
that's where I'm like, I just want to make sure that you guys as ministers know you have to take the initiative to ask
Right.
because those people, you and I and the others that we're talking about are busy people. So it's
Right.
not that they don't, they have an endless amount of time and resources. It's just that they are willing and want to, just like
Hmm.
you said. So Oh, so good. And I didn't want to miss out on the opportunity to talk on that because I'm like, there's just a lot of insecurities, I know,
Right.
and so many of us, especially when you feel like you're the person on the receiving end and you're like, oh, they're so busy. Oh, they've got the money, they've got the
Hmm.
resources, and we don't have anything to offer. And I'm
Yeah.
like
Right.
there why do we sit in churches?
Yeah.
Why do we engage in conversations about, helping people in different parts of the world? It's because we all want to see the Great
Yeah.
Commission come to
Right.
life.
That's
Like,
right. That's exactly right. And it's
so
funny, we're both on two sides, the spectrum, the pastors over here and the business leaders over here, and both of them going, yeah, I can't approach them about what this is because they're just too busy. They're too important to approach in those terms. And you're like, if you guys only knew what each other was thinking.
yes, and then I have to remind myself too is that I'm like, we're all human.
Right.
We all
Yeah.
have different areas of expertise. As you talk on your area of expertise here in quality management and higher education, training and teaching. I mean, like that is your special skill set. But I know that our pastors and our leaders, I was like, you work in a specific demographic, you have
Hmm.
deep conversations with people in that community or in that region. And so I was like, you guys know things that there's a lot of business leaders
Yeah.
that want to know that information, and
Yeah.
you've got an inside scoop on some of that stuff.
Right.
So
That's exactly
it's
right.
like, oh, so good. But anyways, just as a way of giving back, you actually have a conference that's coming. It'll be
Right.
in the fall.
Yeah.
But you do this conference, for leaders, and like tell us more about what it is that you're preparing for here in the
Sure.
fall.
So we, with COVID hitting, a couple of our regular conferences that we had been attending with InterLearn canceled, and so we decided, you know what, let's put on our own conference. I'd been wanting to do one for a couple of years, and we just decided, okay, let's just do it. So we put on a conference, a virtual conference through Zoom, where we have education leaders in particularly in the online space where they're either a faculty member, an administrator who does online learning types of duty. We have them get together. We do everything from workshop on that people are delivering. We had 72 schools. I'm sorry, 72 people that showed up and 40 schools that showed for last year's conference. And we hope that that will grow this coming year. But it's just a chance for us to hear some new topics. And I went into it going, yeah, I probably have a decent idea on most of what is going to be discussed. And I got to learn too. So there was some new topic that since I left higher ed administration that were kind of coming out that I had no idea and had to do with ways that students can cheat of all things. So I got to learn some new techniques and ways that they're working on that, and just the general reminders of, oh yeah, I got to make sure that's an important piece, and I got to implement that in my practice, that sort of thing. That's what we really have tried to do.
Yeah, well, and I think what you're highlighting here too is that continuous learning piece.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
our conversation here today, telling people about like how can you be more business savvy? How can you really connect with? It's ever evolving, and
Hmm.
all of the industries that we work in, you have to
Yeah,
continuously be learning. And so I love that. I'm really looking forward to the conference, and I get to be one of the speakers
that's
at the
right.
conference. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
So come check it out. We'll make sure that you guys get all the information to join us for that. But this whole summit, this whole training that we're teaching on here is really all about that. Like we just want to make sure that everyone gets an opportunity to learn new things. This may be the first time that you guys are hearing about quality management and you're like, what? This is a foreign language to me.
Right.
And I think, just what Josh is trying to explain to us is just take steps towards, being better at what you
Hmm.
do, and really be curious about just improving on a business level of your ministry. But if somebody wants to connect with you, Josh, and they're like, hey, whether they're in higher education or whether they're, wanting to just learn more about quality management or pick up a copy of your book, what's the best way for them to connect with you and to get access to your book?
Sure. So to reach me, you can call me 918-895-1185. I'm in the Tulsa area. or email me at jfisher, JFISCHER, at progressive, PROGRESSUSED.com.
All right.
And
Awesome.
then as far as the book,
Yep.
that's available through Amazon Kindle, Amazon Press, all that. It's all on Amazon and other bookstores.
Awesome. We'll make sure that you guys get a link to that. But it's the book again is called The Quality Management Devotional for Ministry Leaders. So it came out just a couple years ago. So it's fairly new out there. So The Quality Management Devotional for Ministry Leaders by Joshua T. Fisher, PhD. So, all right, Josh, before we wrap up here, do you have any final just advice, just encouragement for those who are listening in who may feel like, this is something that I need to tackle. This is something that I need to work on. What would you encourage them to do today?
Well, sure. I mean, the biggest thing that you can do is make the decision to improve. You're not going to get everything right. Like we talk about the zero defect, things are going to go wrong. You're not going to learn it all overnight, but it's a continual process of development and improving. And when you commit to that, when you say, okay, today I'm going to go one step further than I went yesterday. I'm going to do this better than I did yesterday. That's the key. Don't stop improving. Don't stop learning. Don't stop developing. That will help you not only to grow in your position, but improve everything around you. And it will be those concentric circles of development and improvement.
Yeah, so good. Well, I have my core values behind me and continuous growth right there. That's my
Nice,
one of my
nice.
core values. 'Cause there's like, I mean, if the world is ever changing, right?
That's
Like
right.
we are, I mean, case in point of what we're living through right now,
Yeah, yeah.
that it's like you can't just sit back and expect
Right.
that you're going to have it all figured out one day because, yeah, it doesn't work that way. But anyway,
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
Josh, thank you so much for
for
being a
sure.
guest and for taking the time to share this information. I mean, like, I don't know too many people who have written books on this topic and who are passionate, especially for ministry leaders as a, former pastor yourself and just like having all, like having this long history of connections in the ministry field. I just appreciate your wealth of information. And if you guys, I mean, I would absolutely connect with Josh, make sure that you follow him. And he's got his conference, Inner Learn Conference, which will happen in September 27th through the 28th. So we'll make sure you guys get information on that and look forward to catching you guys very soon. So thanks again, Josh. And good luck on everything that you're working on. I can't wait to
Thanks so much. Appreciate
follow
it.
everything. All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.